Will, do you know every day, usually in the morning between 5 and 11 a.m., we release our Central Indiana scoreboard show. We got scores, highlights, sound bites, all the stuff from all of Central Indiana sports, Pacers, Fever, Colts, IndyCar, IU, Purdue, Ball State, Butler, small colleges, and of course the best high school sports coverage in Central Indiana, along with major national news. I've been working on it for a year. It's really good. People should listen.
I did actually know because I have notifications turned on for the podcast.
It's a
and
really
so
good idea.
I see when you upload every show.
Great idea, everyone.
Yeah, everybody should do that.
Everybody should do that. Also, go check out our YouTube page. What you are listening to now is the Central Indiana Sports Report podcast number 293.2. 5 questions that need answers with Will Retherford. This week's theme is going to be true or false. Will's going to be answering a series of questions, true or false, in 5 different categories, starting with the NBA Finals. And here we go, Will.
Okay.
Theme song.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengels.
Welcome, Central Indiana sports fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report. I'm your host, Greg Mengelt. Alongside me is Will Retherford, who is here to do what he does every week, and that's answer 5 questions.
Mm-hmm.
This week's theme is true or false. We're going to start with the NBA Finals.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do the Stanley Cup.
Yep.
We're going to talk a little IndyCar, a little Major League Baseball, and a little NFL. All in true or false. Answer them however you want.
Yeah.
If you want to say just true or false, move on.
50%
Fine.
chance of being right.
Probably
Kind
better
of.
than that.
Hopefully.
For you better than that.
On a test,
That's right.
50% chance. So you just need to hope that you guess the right one.
Always my favorite kind of test.
You always miss. You always miss one that you just knew was supposed to be right too. You just like that wording,
Exactly.
the language.
I promise to word it just precisely,
Yeah.
so that you can answer to the best of your ability, which will
Okay.
probably be wrong.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, as well. Depends on who you ask. 'Cause I could be right to some people and wrong to others. These opinions and such.
yeah, some people love you, some people hate you, but they all listen to you. All right, ready, Will?
Pete Weber, thank you.
By the way, we are recording from Stage 22 in Elwood, the actual Stage 22, so we're outdoors.
Yep.
Don't mind the most of it, beautiful background
Mm-hmm.
noise. If you can't stand that, then you're not going to like this podcast.
It's like the
but
Masters.
It really is.
Whatever happened to stage 20 upstairs?
Stage 20 is being cleaned right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're expecting company over here.
Yes.
So stage 20 is being cleaned. So we're out here at stage 22, but it's a perfect night.
It is. It's
74
absolutely-
degrees and perfect weather.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go, Will. 5 questions, and we're going to start with the NBA Finals. True or false? The Pacers being 1-1 in Oklahoma City, does that mean that they are going to wind up being the NBA champions in the end?
True. Yes, I said it. I think that they are winning the series. I think that these next...
Start with, I think that these next.
I think these next 2 games play a pivotal role. They go up to 3-1 and defend home court. It's all but wraps. 2-2 invites a ball game still. I mean, I see this series. I said 6. I think that there's a strong argument at 7. We talked a little bit about today with the Pacers report as far as just kind of what the expectations need to be. And I think, 2-0 is in a perfect world. 1-1's probably reasonable. I do think that at some point, they're going to have to steal one, kind of like they did in Game 1. But I feel like every Pacers fan will be like, they got to go up 2-0, and 1-1's a disappointment. It's still the best team in the league, really, that we're talking about in the Thunder, especially in the Western Conference. And, for the whole year, they've been the best team in the league. I think if you can split when you split there is realistic. I expect this to be 2-2, probably going back Game 5 to OKC.
True or false? Would you be happy? True True or false, getting to a Game 7 in Oklahoma City would make you happy?
False. I think I'd like to see a win in Game 6 at home and then wrap up the series there. You got to... Game 7 in OKC definitely swings in OKC's favor a lot.
Yeah, but this team, man, I like them in a Game 7.
I do too. I really like Game 6 at home. That's the one where if you're a Pacers fan, you're the Pacers, you want to circle me. Like, we want this one to win it. So whatever you have to do to get to that point, whether it be you win 2 at home, you drop one in Oklahoma City, and then you come back home 3-2 expecting to win, or you go back to OKC 2-2, you got to win one in OKC, win one at home. I don't like that Game 7 there, just with it all comes down to there's nothing left. It's all at stake, on the line in Game 7, and that's a lot of pressure, and I don't love that on the road.
I think you answered this question on another podcast, but it wasn't yours, and so you can probably go a little more into depth in this one. True or false, Tyrese Halliburton has to be the best player in the series the rest of the way for the Pacers to win it?
True to an extent. I think it depends on what your interpretation of best player is. If you're expecting him to have 30, need to have 30 a game for them to win and be the best player that way, I'd say false. I think if you want him, hey, can we get a 20-10, 20-10-8 kind of game the rest of the way out, and he's the best player in that capacity? Yeah, I do think he has to be that. I think that Game 2 is tough for him. They put Dort on him an awful lot. I think that's a tough matchup. I said it before. I said it, that's the matchup to me. If Dort can do a good job of handling Halliburton, then that's really going to make a difference in this series. That proved to be kind of true. I'm still a little frustrated with the lack of urgency to get Halliburton back in the game there. I get the rotation. I understand that the NBA is different than maybe even college or high school level, but it feels like you need a momentum stopper, and putting your best player on the floor, I feel like, has got to be, even at the sacrifice of him maybe being a little winded. I feel like you have to say, we got to put our best player on the floor. And I don't like that Carlisle's done that. I've been critical on him with that probably more than anything else this playoff run is. I think sometimes he lets teams go on runs because his unwillingness to put the starters back in and try to give them a little bit more rest. But
it's not as bad as Frank Vogel, so we'll forgive him.
But on they've got 5 games left. If you don't have enough juice to get up for these finals games, then you don't belong there anyway. If you can't play a little hurt or on a little less rest than normal, then you didn't belong here and you lost a series to begin with. So it's time that the big boys play a lot, and because the bench comes in and they play bad. They just don't play well. The bench has been really a big disadvantage. Even in that New York series, they kind of got exposed. They didn't play well. They come in and they give up
better regular season bench.
Yeah, they give up 10, 15-point leads all the time, and then you got to bring the starters back into scrape. I feel like if you ride the starters a little longer and give them a little bit more time, you're going to see a net positive for the team.
We've been saying all along that unless Walker and Matherin make a step, that their depth was much better depth for the regular season than it is the postseason. You're right. It's time for... By the way, you answered one of my questions already, but I thought of another one while you were talking. Okay. True or false, the Pacers have a coaching advantage in the final 5 games?
True, because they play at home 4 times. I think they have the Pacers have an advantage in this series.
3 times.
3 times, excuse me. Yeah, they play at home 3 times, and I think that's an advantage. I think that helps coaching. I think that helps with noise and in your huddle and your timeout and stuff, being able to convey your message a little better. I just think it helps all the way. I think Daigneault, he coached a really good game 2. They came out in game 2 and they played with the right game plan. I think Rick did get out coached a little bit in game 2, if you want the honest truth. I didn't think that his defensive, I guess you could say play set, defensive style that he brought in that game was not right. I think they devoted way too much help to SGA, and they let Oklahoma City's bench and role players kind of feast. And I think you've got to be comfortable letting SGA get 45 to 50. Because if you can keep everyone combined to 60 points, you feel good with them only scoring 110. You got to think, if we can't get 110 on them, probably not winning anyway. Like, just this team is not a team. They win when the score goes up, not when that score stays 110 and under. That's just not where this team's good. They need to be 110 plus, 120 plus. That's their benefit. So I would say devote less help to bringing, especially like that nail help right there at the free throw line that you saw Neesmith, that you saw an off-ball perimeter defender taking. I think that needs to be less part of the game plan, just kind of letting, hey, if SGA if we force him into tough shots with Nembhard and Neesmith on him and he hits him, oh well, we have to live with that. But we can't let Lou Dort, we can't let Aaron Wiggins, Alex Caruso, and company just sit on the three-point line and hit shots, wide open shots. I may add that's not sustainable. That cannot be the game plan and philosophy the rest of the way.
True or false? This century began in 2000, not 2001. Some people say 2001. Because I'm going to ask it like this. If the century began in 2001, is today the biggest game in Pacers 21st for the Pacers in the 21st century?
This is the biggest game in Pacers history in general. This is huge. To go up 2-1.
Game 4 in 2000 was same thing.
To go up 2-1 at home, riding off the momentum of you stealing a game, the first finals appearance that they've had in 25 years. I get 2000 was a little different. If we're, I guess, calling 01 the start of this century, absolutely. It absolutely is the biggest game ever. Maybe
there were some LeBron James games in there
maybe
that were
some
huge.
of those game 7s with 2012, 2013
right.
with those Pacers teams, but this feels big. This feels like the city is
Pacers,
really
Pistons
prepared.
Game 7 in 2004 was huge.
Really prepared for this and is really excited for this moment to be on this platform and this scale. I think Indy's going to show up in a way that OKC can brag about, but there's just more people in Indy, more people that care. It's a bigger city, it's a bigger market, it's a bigger basketball state, it's a bigger everything. It's Pacers are the lifeblood of this city when they're really good, whether people like to admit it or not. This is huge.
True or false? The entire state of Oklahoma sucks.
True.
All right, let's move on to some.
There are a lot of sovereign nations in the state of Oklahoma. Those
do not suck. Right. At least not as much.
But
they're still in Oklahoma.
U.S. federal governed areas, yes.
Come on. The reservations suck too. They're in Oklahoma. At least for these 2 weeks, they suck.
Yeah, they do. For these 2 weeks, they suck. I'm completely content. And I'm content saying that state sucks.
And don't even get me started on Stillwater.
Yeah, well, I never been a big, OK State guy ever.
And the Sooners? Ugh.
I mean, Matt Holliday is from there, a great Cardinal in my lifetime.
We can all name some. My first sports hero ever was Billy Sims, who was an Oklahoma Sooner Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah.
When he went to the Lions, he became my hero. There are some. I'm not going to say there's not some. Toby Keith.
I mean, legend.
Great part of Oklahoma.
Yep.
There's Garth Brooks. But in total.
Oh yeah, I mean
that place is the worst.
It's America's trash can. I said it on the Pacers report. I'll say it here. It is. It's where if you just want to put somebody to irrelevancy, you send them to Oklahoma, and they kind of get there organically. The Red River is nasty.
Texas is so much better.
Texas blows too. I'm kind of a one state against the rest of them kind of person. I'm a big Indiana guy.
Yeah.
As far as saying the other states don't suck.
Oh, it's not nearly as bad as Illinois or Kentucky. I'm not saying it's as bad as Ohio or Michigan.
Yeah.
But it's pretty bad, and in some ways, it's the worst state in our country.
Yeah, I think in a lot, really.
Yeah.
Mississippi's definitely down there, kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel with Oklahoma on most metrics.
Yeah, right there. Arkansas.
Yeah,
right there.
That's just kind of a.
Yep.
It's just a kind of a gross
area.
area.
But Oklahoma's even the worst of those. All right, true or false? The city of Oklahoma City deserves an NBA championship.
No, why do cities deserve NBA championships?
Because their fans are loyal and they're great. And
awesome.
They've been waiting a long time.
Every fan base is loyal when you win. I mean, it's much easier.
we're loyal when we lose. Come on.
But I'm saying, but like, I don't remember when OKC was, a lottery pick for 5 years. What it felt like that nobody talked about how awesome of an atmosphere OKC was. It's great when you win. It's great when it's good and you win 67 games and it's cool to be an OKC fan and you're living off the coattails of Durant, Westbrook, and Harden doing next to nothing with that trio that they had. I just don't. I think that's just silliness to say, oh, the city deserves a championship. If there's a city in this series that deserves a championship, it's Indianapolis.
If there's a city in the NBA that deserves a championship,
there is not a better.
Sacramento would be the other one. Those fans are so loyal, even when they suck all the time.
There's not a better basket. This is the blood of basketball. Is this state? I mean, this is basketball on the platform that it is. Without the state, it's the highest per capita of NBA players from their home state of any state in the country.
Yep.
They produce incredible basketball athletes that go on and have a huge impact both in the college game and the pro game. Yeah, it absolutely deserves to be recognized, to be worshipped, to be cherished because you go around the state and every house they've got a hoop in the driveway. They have a basket they've put in. It's just different here. That's not how it is in Oklahoma City. I've never been there. I don't care to go. But I guarantee you, if you go in the suburbs of Indianapolis or anywhere in the state of Indiana, barns have them posted up on the side of the barn in they have a concrete slab to go shoot on. It means something here.
If you like rodeo, Oklahoma's your place.
But like, I mean. Rodeo's cool, I guess. I've been to one. It's fun, but like
it has its place.
But it's not basketball. No. It's not basketball in Indiana, and that to me it should be the. Is there a state in this country that identifies with a sport as much as Indiana identifies with basketball?
Yeah, maybe Indiana and auto racing.
Maybe Texas and football.
Yeah, maybe, but
that's about it.
Every state at this point is connected with football.
But is that about it?
That's about it.
What's a baseball state?
They're all baseball states.
Maybe Minnesota Florida, with hockey.
Yeah.
Maybe you could make that argument.
Wisconsin's the same, but kind of Kentucky and Indiana are with basketball.
But you ask any. But first thing that people think of when they think of Kentucky is horse racing.
Good point.
I mean, if you ask people, hey, what is the biggest sport in Indiana? I would say at this point in time, 95% of them would say basketball, and the 5 that said auto racing are because they're IndyCar fans. But that's not like it's on a national level as big of a deal as the NBA and basketball is in general. People
North Carolina and college basketball, maybe, with four great programs through the years.
Who cares?
It's
college sports. Who cares? I mean, it's.
Alabama with college football.
Great. I'm glad that they have something to cheer for when they go home and have to kiss their cousin.
Highlight in Florida. Dog racing in Florida.
West Virginia now is the only state that I think has legalized dog racing. So maybe that's West Virginia's sport. That and meth.
Maybe. Yeah, there you go.
Shooting meth is a big thing in West Virginia, as it is in Indiana.
What's Tennessee's thing?
I mean, they think they're good at football.
But they're not.
They're pretty good at softball, pretty good at baseball.
Right. Women's basketball through the years.
I feel like swimming. Yeah, women's basketball. I feel like it's an SEC school. They're pretty good at everything. I mean,
but not like the rest of the SEC.
It's just basketball means something here, and
of course you have with hockey. You associate that now with Florida.
Oh, it's the state of hockey. Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
It's become the state of hockey. And Paul Bissonnette will say that it's because of the fact that no state income tax, but Vegas doesn't have a state income tax. The Predators don't have a state income tax. Seattle, the Kraken, they don't have a state income tax.
Here is my true or false question with the Stanley Cup.
Okay.
Did the Panthers win the Stanley Cup in overtime the other night? Taking that game 2 on the road.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they go down 2-0.
It wouldn't have mattered if they lost. They've won this series. They were winning in 6. If they went down 2-0, they were winning 4. All they needed was 1. They got 1, and then you just completely see them dismember Edmonton. It felt limb by limb. I mean, the fact, it's really just like it's like a crazy lady before she goes to the asylum. Like, you see the stages of the downfall before, like, the inevitable happens. And that was just what that game felt like. It just felt like a bully taking advantage of a weaker kid. And that's what I've said this whole playoffs. I've been said Panthers are the best team in hockey the entire year. They are. And they just continue to show that. There's not a team built for playoff hockey more than the Florida Panthers, especially in the modern NHL. And I just think that they're uber well coached. They have great leadership. They have a great culture. And they have they've completely reinvested a fan base that was seemingly lost for a long time, and now it's a huge thing down there. It's massive. It's growing the game. Hockey's only going to get better if more people get to see what the sport is about.
It's amazing how much all the ice sports have grown in Florida over the years. It's the capital of speed skating in the U.S. now.
Yeah.
Nuts.
I think it just comes down to you've got a lot of people. You have a lot of new ideas. It's a very transplant state. You got people from all over the country moving to Florida. It's a destination, and they bring with them that culture that they come with. And so it's a melting pot, I think, especially in the United States, of culture, of sport, of everything, everything.
But we talk about deserving fans. As much as we hate Canada, Will, Edmonton's fans are deserving of a cup.
They're so obnoxious, though. The Canadian hockey fans are so obnoxious and unrealistic.
Except for Vancouver, maybe.
They're the worst.
What?
That fan
They're
base
not better,
blows.
worse than Toronto and Montreal.
That fan base blows.
Ottawa might not be as obnoxious because they never win. But.
No, it's one of those where Canada does, until Canada can put together a team, they don't do it the right way. Those Canadian teams, you could sit and point at fallacies that all of them have as far as their roster construction of paying way too many guys, way too much money. Toronto is incredibly guilty of that.
Well, let me ask you my next question then. Will Connor McDavid ever win a cup in Edmonton?
Yeah, it's inevitable. He will win one. I don't know.
But in Edmonton.
If they get a better goalie, yeah, that's their weakness. That is truly, they're physical, they're fast, they're incredibly skilled, both their power play and penalty kill. It just, on paper, like, they match up with Florida really well, outside of the fact that Florida just has the better goaltender, and Edmonton was kind of riding a Stu Skinner heater to get here in the first place, and he's come back down. Water found its level. He's not a good goalie. He is not a... If Edmonton...
That tends to happen a lot with goalies.
If Edmonton somehow pulls this off, he's probably the worst goaltender of this century to win a Stanley Cup. Like, to be the Stanley Cup winning goaltender, he is without question the worst. We're talking about a guy that's a sub-900 save percentage. That's unheard of in 2010, 2020's hockey. That just doesn't happen anymore. And they do it to themselves. They have the ability to go get a better goaltender, and they just kind of choose not to. They put too many eggs in a basket with both McDavid and Draisaitl. Not to say that they don't deserve it, but in creating a roster where they've got really good and they've invested in their blue line with the defense and stuff like that. They've invested in forwards to complement both McDavid and Draisaitl. They've kind of neglected maybe the most important position in hockey, which is your goaltender. He's your best penalty killer. He's your most stable force. If he's good, the team has confidence, and Edmonton plays like a team that just doesn't have confidence in their goaltender, that they have to score 6 goals a game to win.
True or false, the Florida Panthers are set up to three-peat?
Oh, it's so hard. They've been so fortunate, I think, the last 2 years to relatively
really good teams in the East.
Stay healthy. I don't know. It just depends on if they come back. I mean, this is now their 3rd straight trip to the finals, and as physically demanding of a sport as hockey is, like, that's really taxing on the body. That's really taxing on the mental. No, you don't. It's so difficult. And if they're as good next year and they're healthy, yeah, they're going to be the best team coming into the postseason next year if they stay healthy as any team. And they kind of just dismantled the competition. I mean, Toronto won the first two, and then after that, Florida kind of made quick work of them. I mean,
who do you see as being the other teams at this point who would contend with them besides Edmonton, obviously?
I think Vegas is always a team that you kind of have to feel like they're going to be there. I know that they're always kind of in that salary cap hell where they're, constrained by the amount of money they're able to pay, but they always seem to figure it out. On the East, is there really a challenger? I mean,
Tampa.
Maybe, but the Panthers have proven they're so much better than Tampa. They kind of beat the crap out of them. Maybe Toronto. I guess. I guess it depends to me with where they go with Marner as far as that. I've heard rumblings that that he's going to be back and stuff, and he's not a playoff winning hockey player. Austin Matthews is. Austin Matthews, I thought, was really resilient and selfless in this postseason as far as the wrist injury hampering
but let's hope they never win another Stanley Cup. That's one of my favorite streaks. After the Cubs losing 100 whatever years in a row without a World Series, the Maple Leafs not winning one since, 67?
It's nice. It's really nice.
It's really nice.
I think that you saw...
And Canada's worse than Oklahoma.
Yeah, you saw the Capitals, that's a bubble that's burst. That team was kind of overachieved.
Absolutely.
Carolina,
Their time's come and gone, it looks like.
Is Brindamore, is that system he runs, is that easy to scout? Because it feels like once you figure it out, they have no ability to counterpunch at all. They're kind of a one-hit wonder.
A lot of down franchises in the East right now, too.
The East is really good, but at the same time, you kind of look across the board, it's like Florida's the best team in the East. I think that continues. They just need to stay fortunate with health. I do think a lot of it depends on if they re-sign Marchand. I think if he's back, it elevates them even higher. We'll see. I don't know. But historically good franchises as far as, competing, the Rangers and the Bruins and stuff like that. Those teams they're kind of on a trajectory where they're downhill, working uphill. I think the Canadians maybe are a team that in the future could be better. Ugh. The Sabres suck. Detroit maybe, if they can. I don't know. We're going across the list, and I think they have a really good chance of three-peating. Maybe they're going to be the representative out of the East. I think if they stay healthy, I think it comes down to who gets there out of the West.
True or false? The Cubs have proven enough to you by now to just be considered the favorites in the National League Central.
False. No, they haven't. They've got a lot of weaknesses still. Their offense is great. This bubble, this run they're on. They've played a lot of bad teams this last month. It's great that they're winning. Good teams take care of bad teams, but their pitching staff doesn't match up, I don't think. I still feel like it's the Brewers' division if they won it, because I just like the coaching so much and what they're kind of able to do, but they're the best team right now. I don't know. I don't... It's a very tough team and division to forecast, because it's you could make an argument if the Reds could learn to hit the ball, they have the best pitching staff by far. Without question, the Brewers just called up a young flamethrower out of their farm system. He's said to maybe have some of the best stuff in the minor leagues.
Still, 4 teams could win it. It's hard to see the Reds at this point, but
the Reds are above 500 now. All it takes is just them. They've really struggled scoring runs, and they're still above 500 competing. It's way too early, I think, right now to probably write anyone off outside of the Pirates. But the two best offenses are the Cardinals and the Cubs in that division. I think it just comes down to what can you get from their pitching and the bullpen. The Cubs are probably the team that is most likely to add at the deadline, so that might help their chances if they're in the driver's seat come late July, early August. Yeah, they're probably going to add, and they'll try to make a run at it, but being the favorite in the NL Central, it's funny. We talked about how bad of a division it's supposed to be. I think it's the only division in baseball 4 teams above 500. So maybe it's better than we thought. They've not played a ton of interdivision series. Yeah, the Cardinals and Cubs still haven't even played. Those are the two best teams in the division based on record right now. They haven't even played a series yet. Cardinals are going to play their first series against the Brewers, or second series against the Brewers on Thursday it starts. So I think there's a lot of time and 14 games left between the Cardinals and Cubs. And I think once you see 7 of those, maybe we have a clearer picture. But I'm false to that they've proven it so far, but it could be true in a couple months.
True or false, the Padres are still your favorite to win the World Series?
I mean, Uncle Paul kind of made me think that maybe this team isn't as good as I thought they were. I think they're electric. I think they have good pitching. If it's not them, who is it? Are we just gonna say the same thing until October that the Dodgers are the favorite? That's so annoying. I don't want to do that. So yeah, true. The Padres are still my favorite to win because I don't want to say anyone else.
Phillies.
The Mets, outside of their top 4, their lineup's so bad. They don't get any run creation from their bottom 4, and Soto's playing bad. If Soto plays better, I think that makes me feel a lot better. And the Phillies, I think, are probably the team in the National League because they're kind of like the Panthers, where maybe their record in the regular season is not going to jump off the page as like, oh, this is a 105-win team. But like come playoff time, you're rolling out Nola, Wheeler, Christopher Sanchez, Taijuan Walker, and then whoever the Abel guy, Max Abel, who's pitched too good start so far. I mean, is that
with bats that are going to put up 3 or 4 runs a night?
Without question. You have complete faith between Schwarber and Harper. Like, they've got the lineup built the way they want it. Real Muto's definitely down from where his peak year was, but as far as an offensive catcher, you still feel like he can offer you production. So, I mean, I'm actually going to change my answer false. I don't think the Padres are. I think the Phillies are right now my favorite because they've gotten so close, and I just feel like at some time this team's too good to continue to fail. Like, their bullpen's good, too. They're going to add at the deadline because they can.
Phillies over Yankees was my World Series pick to start the season.
I think
Looks pretty good.
I think it does look pretty good. I don't see a team really in the American League. I'm still high on the Mariners. if they can score runs,
it seems like they're always going to, but they never do.
It just feels like their pitching staff is so talented, so young, so talented. If they can just score runs, they feel like a team that can really make a big wave, especially in a division that's kind of down. They're probably going to have home field that first round, so yeah, I'm saying Phillies. My dark horse is the Mariners for the World Series. Probably a little unrealistic, but I don't think the Yankees have a World Series team because I just think their pitching is going to get exploited in the postseason. They're able to get by with it right now. I mean, that division really outside of Toronto, who's been on a heater here recently, is kind of average as far as Tampa Bay, Baltimore, not uber good. I believe up to this point, Tampa Bay's got a above 500 record, but a negative run differential. That's not usually a good sign. The Red Sox are okay, middling, I would say. So, I mean, the Yankees are probably going to run away with the division because their division is so bad. But I just feel like they're going to get by with mid-tier pitching, and if they don't add at the deadline, it'll get exploited in the postseason.
Let's move on to IndyCar. True or false, Kyle Kirkwood will finish second in the standings this year?
False. I think it'll be a award, but
still quite a bit back, man. It has not gone well for Pato.
I feel like he's just his time's coming. It kind of feels like he's too good to continue to kind of sputter out at the beginning.
McLaren so far.
It's not been good for McLaren. It's not like it's one of those where I probably, with a consensus, lean true because of just where the standings are right now. I just have this feeling that Pato's going to figure it out. It'll be him. I mean, they're competing for who's coming in second. I can tell you that.
No doubt about it.
Pelot's won it basically already.
Yeah.
My
next question was true or false. Clearly, Pelot is the story of the year. Is the second best story of the year in IndyCar Foyt Racing.
Yeah, they've been good. They really have been good. It's definitely, whenever you get that Foyt name attached, you expect that greatness. You kind of expect because that's his legacy. But it's really been a long time. I really like Santino Ferrucci. Like, he's just kind of one of those sleeper, just good drivers on the circuit. I like him a lot. I mean, he's kind of their headline guy right now as far as what he's able to provide.
All right, let me ask another one. Speaking of Foyt Racing, David Malukas has been so good this year. True or false, he winds up at Penske in place of Will Power?
False. I think Foyt will give if Foyt Racing can continue this kind of ride they're on. I think they're going to have the ability through sponsorships to probably pay him what he's worth. And the grass isn't really always greener. Malukas is the guy that he's going to get more spotlight probably with AJ Foyt Racing. He's going to be the third racer out of 3 as far as on that Penske team behind Newgarden and McLaughlin.
Are we sure McLaughlin's going to still be around? He has not performed.
Yes, Scotty Mac's good. He's run into some rough luck, but like he's still. I mean, last year was not a fluke. Like he's a good driver, and is it better to be the second, to be the 1B behind Foyt versus the third racer at Penske? I guess that's a decision that he has to make for himself. I personally would like to see him stay with Foyt because I just think it makes the series better. I don't like when Penske rolls out 3 of the top 7 drivers in the circuit.
And they pilfer the good drivers from the other teams.
It feels like the Dodgers and the Yankees, where it's just like these racing companies are basically just.
Say what you want about Roger Penske, that guy has control of IndyCar and the Speedway and could have done whatever he wanted, and he made the rules against his own interest.
Well, he fired basically the entire.
No, I'm talking about just making the rules so that everybody becomes more even. Is against teams like his interest.
But you know that the public pressure, if he didn't do that, would be immense, and there would be calls for him to be gone. Yeah, but F1's so political and so money-driven anyway.
He could have done that. That's all I'm saying.
He could have. He could have absolutely done that. He didn't. It's for the betterment of the sport. I do think that he has some questionable. There's some crashes that have happened at the 500 that scream, I kind of feel like Penske said, hey, it's time to crash Elio. For the betterment of, to get, we've got a guy that's kind of.
The Newgarden Ericsson 500 a couple of years ago was questionable.
Kind of one of those, hey, Newgarden's really running on fumes. It'd be really good if somehow we had a yellow caution or a red where he's able to come into the pits.
Doesn't seem like he's into that, which is good.
I don't know. Maybe he's not into it based on the decisions, but sometimes it feels a little fishy, if that makes sense. But it is good for the sport, and it's good that, and I hope that for the sport's sake, he doesn't become one of those where he is one of those. He is jockeying always to have the 3 of the best 6 drivers on his racing team. I don't really see that being to the benefit of the sport. I think the benefit is to have a multitude of drivers with different teams that are all equally as talented and good, and you're kind of able to see the strategic position that these teams hold in each race.
The product is so good.
It's so good. It's great. We haven't really hit on this. We talked early in the year about how excited we were for this Fox coverage, but they just continue to swing and miss.
Ooh.
I think whenever they're able to give the opportunity, they have a great commentating crew, but it's just like it doesn't matter because as far as
they should have just gone with Kevin Lee as the play-by-play guy. He's just so good.
But the production,
so passionate about it, but it's just been bad.
The production's bad. The production has almost trumped whatever's been said on air. It just screams to me not being prepared, not understanding or respecting the sport, and being in it purely for money's sake. And that's kind of what it screams to me, and it's sad because it is in such a beautiful spot as far as there's never been this much talent. There's never been this amount of hype, I think, really behind.
Plus, NBC did such a good job with it.
NBC did do a good job. I wish they would.
Everything was on Peacock for $5 a month.
If they could have promoted the sport a little better, I think it'd been awesome. But they they didn't, sure. and now it falls on the shoulders of Fox. And I hope this is one of those where we we're kind of right at the halfway point of the season, creeping towards right there at the half point. I feel like you want to see these production blurps fix itself and not be an issue anymore, because it takes away from the sport and just kind of makes it look like it's a minor league production, and that's not good for anyone. So that needs to get solved for them.
The IndyCar Series is headed for Worldwide Technology Raceway near St. Louis on the other side of the Illinois border for a Sunday night race this week. True or false, IndyCar needs more ovals?
True. People like ovals. NASCAR historically has worked pretty much with ovals exclusively. They've kind of started to get into these road courses.
Those NASCAR road course races are great.
I hate them. I think they're awful.
Them.
They're slow. They're sluggish. They don't have.
I know, but they can rub against. They can make those passes.
I know,
that you can't in IndyCar. Especially when Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart were out there, those races were so good.
But I do think that IndyCar needs more ovals. I think that's the allure of the Speedway is that it's an oval, and they need that.
Can I point this out, though? That they've made road and street courses really freaking entertaining when they never used to be. Even the courses like Detroit that are really tight, there was a lot of good racing there.
Everybody said that Detroit race was going to suck because it was so narrow, and I thought it made it even better. I think it made it even better. It made the stakes that much higher. It made the precision on the turns and seeing the technical skill of the drivers shine, I think. Where at Indy you don't see that kind of relationship of like how good these guys are, because you just say, you minimize it and say left turn, left turn, left turn, and it's like, okay, that's true, but then you see what they do at these road courses. It's like, okay, these guys, especially Detroit, like uber talented, uber great, and I'm like to see the transition where they don't get very happy and trigger happy with having road course after road course after road course, and they're alternating oval road course. I think that makes the sport better as far as seeing on a week-to-week basis following the season and seeing how these drivers react to these different changing racing climates, I guess, environments you say, between the ovals, between the road course. I think that it makes you appreciate the drivers and how skilled they are and their ability to be really good on both.
You lead me right into another question. When it's all said and done, this group of drivers that's driving right now, can it be remembered as fondly as the era that gave us Foyt, Andretti, Rutherford, the Unsers, in the end, assuming Palou and O'Ward are part of it for the next 20 years?
No, because I think Palou will be just that dominant. I think he will.
So is AJ Foyt and Mario Andretti at times.
But I think that it's like a Tiger Woods kind of run we're on right now, where it's like you always look back, Scotty Scheffler kind of in golf, where it's like, okay, if these names are in the tournament, they're winning. Like, if they're here, they're winning. And it just feels like any time Palou shows up to the track, it's like you're betting basically him against the field, and you feel good taking him. Like, you feel confident taking him. I think that true fans of the sport will look back at this era and acknowledge this is the most skilled, it's the most fun, it's the most technical, it's the most deep.
Definitely the deepest.
Where you've got 15 cars that could win a race any given
It's not
any
the
given
same
Sunday.
7 guys every week.
No. And that is, I think, vital and important. But I think to the general public, they'll look back and say Alex Palou is, if there's ever a debate about IndyCar on any of these large networks, which there should be, the fact they just don't cover auto sports is a real shame. It never gets talked about, but that's what happens when you just, hire a bunch of, retired athletes and don't actually hire any journalists to do any coverage and analysis of the sport. I don't really expect an Emmanuel Acho to know a whole lot about NASCAR or IndyCar when he played football his whole life. Like, why would he know a lot about, why would Stephen A., which is not even an athlete, but like, why would he ever bother talking about something that he has absolutely no immersion into at all? Kendrick Perkins, like, you go to that ESPN crew, the Fox crew, it doesn't matter. It's just a bunch of, we want to sit and talk about the same 3 things. They say we're fans of sports. They're not. They're not fans of sports. They're fans of football and basketball.
Sports.
Yeah, they're not a fan of auto racing or
individual sports.
Yeah, at all. It never comes up
Track
in conversation.
And field and
like the fact that Coco Gauff wins at Roland Garros and just doesn't get any coverage in the national media about it is just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like, it's tragic, it's sad, it just never gets brought up.
We go way deeper on this podcast than almost every other sports podcast there is.
And it's the way it should be. If you want to call yourself a sports podcast or a sports media company, you need to know and talk about sports, not just the ones that seem convenient for ratings or that the networks like because they have vested interest in it. Like, why not talk about... I mean, here's what I will say. Like, Nick Wright's show did have Palou on after he won.
I did see that.
And that was cool. That was cool to see Palou get that coverage. But it's like, does it really matter if we never follow up after that 20-minute conversation with him? If we don't talk about the Detroit, we don't talk about this race at St. Louis at all?
You lead me into the next question. Within your lifetime, will IndyCar be the biggest racing series on the planet within your lifetime?
Yeah, I think so, because I think it's just going to become more exciting than NASCAR. NASCAR's a dying breed. NASCAR's on the downswing. I think IndyCar is on the upswing.
It's really got the better personalities.
It
now,
has the better. It has the better everything. It's got the better skill. It's got the better personality. It's got the better
performance.
I think better tracks outside of, like, we talk about all these NASCAR tracks as being historic, but, like, to the average fan, Darlington doesn't really matter. Any more than St. Louis really matters. All that matters is what you're seeing in the product in of itself, in the races.
Does the track produce good racing?
Yes, and I think that you saw. Has there been a course so far that's like swung and missed? Maybe the Grand Prix at the 500. That always kind of seems to be a dud. It seems like
that one out in the desert in California at the Auto Club, where there are no fans.
Yeah,
that was bad. Oh, that was a bad visual. Oof.
It's just one of those where maybe I'm saying this just because I'm an IndyCar fan and I want to see it become the bigger racing product, but they've got some work to do because NASCAR is the big deal.
At one time in my lifetime, it was way bigger than NASCAR.
Yeah, and then NASCAR had that run in the 80s and 90s where it's like the king, almost the king sport of
it took advantage of the IndyCar split.
Mm-hmm. It did, no, for sure, because you got people like...
That's when it really started.
Stewart that came in and became a NASCAR driver and took over, that series.
Yep. They didn't want Jeff Gordon. IndyCar back then had no interest in a kid who was in go-karts and sprints and midgets. They just had no interest at the time, which Tony George was right about a lot of the stuff he did.
Yeah, well, I think it's so different, too, because, like, the upbringing of, like, a lot of the NASCAR... guys, they come up on the dirt track circuit. Actually, a lot of them moved to Indiana.
That's right.
I mean, Jeff Gordon moved to Indiana and started competing here in the dirt track circuit, and he had a vested interest. He wanted to go to IndyCar. They didn't take him, obviously. Yeah. But, I mean, Kyle Larson talked about it, that he moved to Indiana and raced here for a while.
Jimmy Johnson expected to be an IndyCar driver.
Raced at Kokomo. I mean, so it's different when you have Gas City. It's different when you have that upbringing with the dirt track, because it definitely does.
Salem.
What?
Don't forget Salem.
No, of course not. But it's one of those where it's just kind of the virtue of a lot of the IndyCar drivers. They grow up on road courses. They grew up. I mean, especially the Europeans. That's they don't really have any stock car racing, and they have no stock car racing in Europe really at all.
Emerson Fittipaldi made South America an open wheel.
Yep.
Capital of the world. Absolutely.
And so, like, the stock car is kind of rally cars big in Europe, but that's a little different than stock car. It's a different type of racing. I just think the sports, while they're the same as far as racing, like the upbringing of the athletes that come through, I think is a lot different.
This is a really good class of guys that they have right now. It's just fantastic. Great mix of international and American. The international guys all seem to fit in. It's just it's the perfect time to be an IndyCar fan. I'll tell you that.
The international, they have great personalities. They're great in media.
Wasn't always the case.
No, their English is awesome, which I think is that always helps whenever you have.
Tony Kanaan was big in that.
Yep. Whenever you have these international athletes that come to the United States, like Shohei Ohtani's so big in Japan and he's big here, but you know how much bigger he'd be here if he spoke English and was able to really connect with the American fans of the sport.
And Sato's really done it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
He's still not fantastic.
No, but his ability to connect with his fans, like that's important. They want to feel that they can be like their athlete. And if you have it completely closed off, where you had Pato O'Ward only speaking Spanish, or you had Palou only speaking Spanish, like the connection wouldn't be what it is. Yeah. So I feel like that's a vital piece, and that's something that IndyCar's pushed. It's been huge.
Great group of guys. All right, let's move on to the NFL. True or false, you still believe in Anthony Richardson as the future of the Colts?
False. I'm
there too, Will.
This is the nail in the coffin. I fear. Maybe he's great for someone else. I just don't see it being with the Indianapolis Colts. So I don't know what they do. They're going to be too good to be picking in the top 5, even with Daniel Jones. But we could be completely surprised. I mean, Richardson,
he still has that ability.
He's playing for his career. Like, this season is
he's at least playing for his Colts career.
No,
there's a chance he goes somewhere else and they figure it out.
But he's never going.
The Colts have not figured out how to use him.
It will only be an uphill battle if he's not good this year.
It's an uphill battle now. He's in that right now.
So I think that if he's the competitor, if he's the person that wants that challenge, it's there for the taking. Go do it. Go shock people.
Competition is Daniel Jones. It's his to take.
Without question. And then this injury and stuff. I don't really have an issue with him not being there because it's like, why throw on an injured shoulder in June?
Yeah, sure. But it's the fact that he keeps getting injured.
Yeah, it is the fact that he keeps getting injured that is scary and frightening, and you have a ton of concern and on the teams and new ownership. I mean, you know.
Next question: true or false? You believe in this new ownership group?
I do. As much as I love Jim Irsay, as incredible as he was for the city, I think that this, not his death, but they needed new blood. They needed the daughters to come in and take advantage and maybe start to run this organization a little closer to how other organizations
He definitely raised them to do it.
So I think I think it's huge. I think it's great to have female ownership group in the NFL. I think that only helps grow the game, grows the fans. It makes female football fans have something to connect to. It's great. It was time, I think, for him to step down. It's obviously very sad and unfortunate how that happened as far as his passing. But as far as to say, like, he was the old head, and the NFL is not what it was when he took over, and I just don't think that he had the ability to change his viewpoint and mindset with how the sport was to be ran. And I'm excited for his daughters to come in and take ownership. But one, because they're young and they're going to be the owners for. I mean, obviously Carly's going to be the boss, but
right.
The other two are also going to be very heavily involved in day to day. It all has
Good to have the Foyt family as part of the Colts ownership.
Absolutely, it only helps. So. I'm really excited. I think it's huge, and hopefully they can start to run this organization in a way. Now, I will say that they've got a tough task ahead because there's a really strong chance that you're firing both a general manager and a coach after this year.
Right now, just freaking do it right now.
And that seems like it could be a situation that is brewing. It could happen. It could happen quickly. It could happen soon. They come out and they play really bad those first 3 games. Like I would expect to see Ballard and Steichen both gone.
It's time for a new generation. Maybe they prove us wrong, and they're both here for the next 20 years, winning championships. But it sure seems like it's time for a brand new group.
Steichen was always tied to Richardson. It was going to be, can he get him to develop the way that he got Jalen Hurts? And thus far, he's completely failed in that regard, and I think he's failed a lot in culture. In the locker room, it seems like there's a culture issue and concern and conversation all the time with this Colts team. So, and Ballard should have probably been fired 3 years ago and somehow still has his job. But Ballard shouldn't have been able to hire the next coach. As far Steichen, so their time in Indy, I think, is probably coming very quickly to an end.
Let's hope. It's time for Peyton Manning to be the president of the organization.
I don't think that'll happen. It would be great, but
I think that's why they've kind of waited. My feeling was this is why Jim Irsay waited a year, is because Peyton Manning told him to give him another year. I have a feeling that's why they stuck with this group. They didn't want to start a new thing when Peyton Manning wasn't quite ready. I'm not saying even Peyton Manning would work. Who knows? A lot of times the athletes come back and they blow it. But they have like a John Elway kind of feel.
Well, I mean, John Elway's obviously
done
it with Denver. I mean, you can't sit and tell me that that's an organization on the rise right now as far as what they've done. They have their quarterback. They believe in their quarterback. They believe in their coach. They gave up picks to go get Sean Payton. Yep. They've let him completely run this organization and man the ship and kind of be a huge hand in roster construction and stuff like that.
And always really let all the other people do the work. Mm-hmm. And he's just the guy who makes the final decisions.
Yep.
And that's really all you need from a Peyton Manning to become the face of your organization. And even if it doesn't work, you got a class guy at the top of your organization. True or false, Will? The Pittsburgh Steelers are now the favorite to win the Super Bowl because they've signed Aaron Rodgers.
I feel like it's a joke or even asking you that, but false.
I was trying to get you to laugh.
False. False.
Doesn't even make him a contender.
No, as long as Mike Tomlin's coaching that team, they're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere.
Your Mike Tomlin hate, I don't understand.
There's a better chance they don't make the playoffs this year than they do.
What?
I believe that. That division is too good. I think that Cincinnati's probably... I don't think they're going to miss the postseason for 3 straight years with Joe Burrow as their quarterback. The Ravens are the cream of the crop. You have to think that 2 teams are getting out of the West, probably 3 between Kansas City, Denver, and L.A. I mean, that makes it really hard. The Steelers luck into that 7 seed all the time, and it's just coming to an end. New England might be a team that is crazy as it sounds.
If Rodgers is as good as the last time he played, and I'm not saying he will be, there's a good chance he's not, that's all that offense needs to go along with that defense. Give me the Steelers all day long. I'm not saying they're winning the AFC or anything stupid like that. I'm going to like that team. Will, true or false? You will be on the NBA Finals podcast with John Robertson tomorrow.
True.
Oh, no, today, I guess.
True.
Okay.
True.
True or false? You'll be on the MLB report with Cody Emerson and Uncle Paul.
True. That's it was a great conversation last time. I don't know if there's been a ton of a ton that's happened to really change our viewpoints.
The Reds have won 4 in a row.
Yeah, but they've played.
The Diamondbacks aren't bad. Come on.
The Diamondbacks they're bad.
They're not bad.
They're bad.
They're not good. They're not bad. True or false? You will be on after the Pacers win Game 3. Immediately after they win Game 3 on Wednesday night.
Yeah, I think up to this point, I think me and John are the only 2 soldiers that have been on for every post-game reaction, and that I intend to see that continue throughout the postseason.
To be fair, Mike Rich would have had he not had other obligations.
Of course, yeah, and he's a hero. He's out there doing it right now, but. Unfortunately, the box score says that Mike Rich wasn't there on the last one, and so
that's right.
So now there's just
the box score doesn't give excuses.
No, it doesn't. It just says win and loss, and that's really all that matters when it comes down to it. So me and John Robertson, hopefully, and I hopefully Mike's able to join us. It's always so great to hear what he thinks. He's such a level-headed Pacers fan.
True or false? You love Central Indiana sports.
I love it. I love it.
Thanks so much, Will.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks so much to Will for putting up with my insanity and for spending some time with us. Always appreciate it. Thank you for listening. Please share this podcast with your friends and family so we can spread the word about the Central Indiana Sports Report and continue to make great podcasts like this one for you. Thanks so much. Central Indiana Sports Report is brought to ITG Media, and I love Susie. And go Pacers.